Greetings, students, and welcome to this episode of The Professor Travel. I am your host, The Professor Travel, coming to you from Orange County, California. This is the website, the vlog, and the podcast that you come to in order to learn more about different travel destinations. Hopefully, this will inspire you to talk more about it and discuss it. I really do hope this inspires you to travel more and ultimately enjoy life more. Now, you can reach me on a variety of different social media platforms, of course, starting with my website at www.theprofessortravel.com, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on TikTok. You can now reach me at The Professor Travel. If you're an Instagrammer, you can find me there at the_professor_travel. If you're a Twitter, then you can find me there at The Professor TR1. And then if you're a blogger, you can find me on theprofessortravel.blogspot.com. Today, I am welcoming again one of my wonderful visiting professors, Morissa Pawl-Frederico. How are you, my dear?
I'm good. I'm good. There seems to be a little bit of a lag on my side, but I'm not really sure.
That's okay. Can you hear me okay, though?
I can indeed.
Okay, so we'll wait like a second between responses just in case there's a problem there. But for the benefit of my students who aren't really familiar with you or who hadn't seen some of your previous episodes that we've recorded, talk to us a little bit about your credentials and maybe a few places that you've traveled.
Sure. I actually am a professor. That's where I earn most of my money. College professor. I teach international business and all sorts of other business courses. But I am also a cultural photographer. And I have had photographs in magazines and all sorts of publications and what have you. I also sell my photographs. Um, I have been traveling all over the world since I'm about 18. When I first went to college in London. And I've been to as far south as Tierra del Fuego, as far north as the tip of Iceland. I've been all over the world, all over Southeast Asia, several places in Africa. Of course, one we're going to talk about today.
Yes.
And yeah, I wish COVID would be over so I could get back on the road.
Right, exactly.
Or on a plane, I should say.
You know, I was going to ask you, and I don't even know if you've had time to record this information, but I was wondering, because I've been to 23 countries thus far within the last probably 10 years or so. And I was wondering, have you actually thought about how many countries you've visited in total?
You know, I haven't counted, but I do have a map behind on the other side of my office that I'm sitting in, where I've got everything scratched off. So, you know, I've been to a lot, and I'm looking at it, a lot scratched off, but I see a lot unscratched. So, you know, I got to hurry up and get back out there.
Great questions. So maybe in the next interview sometime soon, we can maybe count out and see how many you've been to. Not that it's a bucket list or anything. I mean, for me it is, but it would be really interesting to know just how far you've gone. Now, before we get started, though, I'd love to know a little bit about this wonderful picture that you have on the screen right now. And again, for my podcast listeners who are out there, it's a wonderful picture of Morissa between two gentlemen. It looks like in African shawls. Can you tell me a little bit about this?
Yes, those are Maasai warriors. And I spent quite a bit of time in Tanzania with the Maasai, with one particular tribe. Both the men, more with the women actually, but I spent some time with the men, and I spent some time in their village as well. So those are Maasai warriors that I'm standing with.
Excellent. So talk to us for this specific trip. It sounds like you made a decision to go to Tanzania in Africa. Talk to me a little bit about why you decided to do this type of a trip.
Well, a couple of reasons. One, I was heading down to South Africa to spend time with friends that lived there. But I didn't want to just go to South Africa again. And, you know, I love South Africa, but I've been going there since 1992. So when I go, I do try and incorporate, you know, another country. Tanzania has always been a destination on my bucket list, you know, speaking of that. And I was actually working for a magazine at the time. I was doing reviews as well as photographs for a travel magazine. So
Interesting.
I ended up choosing Tanzania, and I did a glamping trip, which was a lot of fun. And I was the only one on the trip. It was just me and like 12 guys, which
Wow.
that were hosting. Not they weren't on the trip. They were taking care of me. And at my with my every whim, I had about 12 guys just giving me everything I needed. It was amazing.
Sounds like a lot of fun. So let me ask you this. How long in advance did you start to plan for this kind of a trip?
Well, I started a few months in advance. I typically would advise somebody for something like this to plan much further in advance, because this was towards the end of the Great Migration that's in the Tanzania area. The animals were already starting to head back towards Kenya, so you really do need to plan a little bit more in advance. I just, timing was just right for me. And it was 2008, so we were kind of, in a bit of an economic downturn, and it was just fortunate timing for me.
Talk to me a little bit about the Great Migration. I'm not really too familiar with that. Is that a long, like almost like the birds flying south for the winter kind of situation?
The Great Migration is fascinating. It's breathtaking, is all I can say. It's something I think if anybody has wanderlust or has a bucket list with travel on it, it's something you need to definitely put on there. It's the wildebeest, which you might know here in the United States also as the new. It's them and the zebras migrating all between around the Serengeti, through the Mara. They migrate every year in a circle, basically, from Kenya to Tanzania and back. And this goes on, almost all year round. Well, really 2 seasons. The migrations are 2 seasons. One season they head down, and the other season they head up. And it's for grazing purposes, but it's literally millions of animals migrating, and I can't even explain it. It's just so amazing to see.
Sounds really amazing. Now, in
And I'll
preparation,
tell you more about it when we get there.
so in preparation for this, did you have to get any type of either a visa? I imagine there might have been special travel medications that you needed in order to inoculate yourself on certain things ahead of time, especially if you're going out in the bush area.
Yes, absolutely. You do need a visa for Tanzania. At least you did at the time. I'm sure we still do, as US citizens. Not every country does. So you needed a visa. Fairly simple process. I got it in South Africa, actually. And yellow fever inoculation, malaria pills, of course, because you are out in the jungle. Um, those are, and other than that, your typical inoculations that you would get going, anywhere.
Okay, sounds great. So what do you pre-pack for something like this?
Everything. No, I'm kidding. Um, bear with me for 1 second.
Of course.
I just figured out why I might have been lagging a little bit.
Oh, okay.
I bet my battery was running low and I didn't switch on the power.
Are you able to see me now?
So
Okay.
everything is so much better. It's amazing.
Okay, there you go. Awesome.
So getting ready for the trip, actually, I don't pack a ton. I'm not like a 2 suitcase packer. I have, a lot of camera gear being a photographer, but I do have like a travel camera backpack that I use. And then one duffel bag suitcase. And really you're looking at, some sturdy hiking boots. You want clothing for both warm and cold weather. You want to have layers because it's going to be, very chilly in the morning when you go out on a drive. It's going to be chilly late in the evening, but it can get very hot during the day.
Mm.
So you definitely want to have lots of layers.
And any type of like anti-mosquito. I mean, I know you're already taking anti-malaria
Yeah.
stuff, but I mean, like anti-mosquito sprays or like sun protection
Yeah.
hats, things like that?
Yeah, my hair's so thick, the sun never hits it. So, but yes, typically sun protection hats, mosquito lotion or spray with DEET.
Okay.
One thing I did do that I recommend to anybody going to areas like this is pre-spray all of your clothing with
Mm,
paramethrin. I think I'm saying that correctly. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it probably at REI or any outdoor place. But you want to spray all of your clothing, and that will last through at least 5 to 6 washes. It will stay. But that is a mosquito repellent with DEET. It is not harmful to your clothing. It is not harmful to you. But it's an extra layer of protection because you do not want to get malaria.
understood. And then, so which airport did you fly out from? Because I mean, since I knew you here in Southern California, I know you've moved a couple times, one to
Yeah,
Utah and then over to Oregon as well.
right.
So where were you flying out of for this specific trip?
I flew out of LAX for this one.
Okay.
I was living in Los Angeles. So yeah, I flew out of LAX through London to Johannesburg, spent some time with my friends, and then from there flew to Dar es Salaam, Tanzania.
Okay. So which airline did you end up taking?
I think I took Virgin to all the way Virgin Atlantic to South Africa, and I'm not positive on the airline. I might have. Oh, I think I took SAA
Okay.
from South Africa to Tanzania.
Okay. And did anything stand out as far as negative experiences, or were there any like super
No, I'm
positive?
I'm a big fan of Virgin Atlantic, and I'll be really honest with you. I mean, a friend of mine that I was going to visit gave me miles and put me in first class, so
Oh.
I have nothing to complain about.
Well, then in that particular
Yeah,
case, I'm sure you had a lovely flight.
I had a
Um,
lovely flight.
now, in terms of the pre-vacation destination, you spent a little bit of time. Like, how long were you in South Africa for?
Oh, I was gone for a month altogether.
Okay.
So I spent about a week with my friends before going, and then I spent another week or so, a little bit of hair over a week when I got back.
That actually brings up a new question I wanted to ask you your opinion on. When you're
Sure.
traveling to a place like South Africa, where it's so far around the globe from where you're at, you probably don't want to just spend a week. I would imagine you want to
Yeah.
spend at minimum 2 weeks, maybe longer in terms of something like that. Am I right in that assumption?
100%. You really need to spend as much time as you can afford to get away because the process of getting there takes so long
Yeah.
and getting back takes so long. It's not jet lag because you're really, I mean, I don't suffer jet lag typically anyway, but you're going more south, so you're not, worrying about crossing international date lines. But the process of getting there is really taking 2 days out of your trip on either side. So you've got 4 days of traveling. There's no way if you're going for a week, you wouldn't see anything. There's no point. If you're going for 2 weeks, you're really cutting it close. So you really want to as much time as possible. I suggest people go over, incorporate, in national holidays so they can get some extra time when they're doing it, something like that.
I think I agree with you on that. I mean, I go back to 2015, 2016 when I went to Thailand.
Yeah.
I only spent a week there, and I feel like just getting there,
Yeah.
like getting there and getting back were each about a day. So I mean, you're already dealing with a full day's worth of transportation on those
Right.
cases, and then you feel like it's taken away from your vacation because you
Mhm.
had you felt like your time was kind of impacted in that moment.
There's no downtime because you're
Yeah.
running, running, running to see everything.
Exactly. And every day it's like jump, jump, jump in order to get a new thing going because you don't want to take advantage of everything. You really don't have that ability just to kind of chill and relax for a day because of
And
that.
soak in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
To me, that's huge. Being able to soak in the atmosphere, talk to locals. Those are the things that make your experience what it is. And this is true
Mhm.
even if you're on a tour. I mean, I'm not a fan of tours. I don't do typically tours, although this was a bit more of a tour.
Yeah.
But you still have time to soak in with the locals. Maybe stay a day after, a couple days, before, whatever it is, just to get the local atmosphere.
Absolutely. Okay, so you arrive in Tanzania from South Africa.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about the city that you arrived in and what your accommodations were going to be like while you were there.
Okay, right. You arrive into Dar es Salaam,
Dar es
um,
Salaam, okay.
which is on the coast. I had, I think when I got there, if my memory serves me correct, when I first got there, a driver picked me up at the airport and drove me right to a coffee plantation.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was really rough. Yeah, tough times, tough times. The coffee plantation was in Arusha. Arusha is a very, very famous town. It's not a huge city. It's famous because it was the town where a lot of talks about civil war from other countries have taken place. From Rwanda to the South after South African apartheid ended. So Arusha has a lot of famous mediating qualities to it in history. But it is also the jumping off point if you're going to climb Kilimanjaro,
Mm.
which I did not. I did not. Just want to make that clear.
How large is Kilimanjaro compared to other mountain ranges that you've been to previously?
Well, it's the highest peak in all of Africa. So it is pretty high, but it's not like, the Andes. It's nowhere close to the Andes or to,
The
of
Himalayas?
course, the Himalaya.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nowhere near that, but it is still pretty high, and it is a grueling climb. I met some people that had done it. One was a lady who was 70 years old. I was
Wow.
so impressed. Yeah, yeah. I felt like a slug. It was very impressive. But yeah. So it's a climb that a lot of people like to do.
Okay. So what is your itinerary going to look like while you're there in Tanzania?
Well, I went to the coffee plantation the first night,
Hmm.
and then the next morning they learned about the coffee plantation and what have you, and of course had several cups of coffee
Of
because
course.
I don't want to offend my hosts.
Clearly.
Yeah,
And I know you don't like to drink coffee that much, so
no, I'm not a coffee drinker at all. Yeah, good point.
everybody loves prop humor. Thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate
prop
that.
humor. I aim to please.
Okay.
Um, and then they flew me in a small plane
Mhm.
out to the Serengeti.
Speaking of prop humor, ah,
Ha ha! Yeah. You're on today. We're both
I,
on today.
I haven't even had my coffee yet. It's just the natural insanity kicking in.
Yeah, yeah, it
So
is. It's
wow.
over. Yeah.
Okay, you're going to the Serengeti. You're going to do the glamping thing, and for those who are not familiar with the term, it just basically means like a glamorous camping trip for the most part. Correct?
Correct. When you go on into one of these like 4 or 5, this was a 5-star, but I mean there are 4-star, there are 3-star tent camping. It's not what you think of tent camping. It's where you're catered to. The tent is a gorgeous house that just happens to be made out of canvas. And there's a shower that is a manual shower that somebody actually boils water and puts in this thing above your head, and you get this lovely hot shower whenever you want. It's so yeah, it's camping, but it's not camping.
What about in terms of concern over my biggest concern, and I'm a wimp when it comes to traveling. Okay, so I'm going
Mhm.
to be very honest. I love traveling, but I'm more of a city slicker.
Yeah.
And so for me going out to the bush, I'm always going to be concerned about things like snakes, especially poisonous snakes, stuff like that. And I know that there are some really, really dangerous creatures in Africa. So how exactly how exactly were you preparing for that kind of a situation, especially when you're doing a camping trip like this?
Well, I'm, as you know, and I don't know if your listeners know this yet, but I'm a little bit of a Indiana Jones light, because I won't climb Kilimanjaro, but I don't worry about. I'll face danger, with animals and things anytime. Doesn't it's part of the thrill for me. I mean, I've pushed a car with a leopard, 20 feet away, and a black mamba hanging over my head, because the car wouldn't start. So what do you do? So those things don't bother me, but When you're glamping, you don't really have to worry about that because there are men with rifles, and it's rifles to protect you against wild animals. So yeah, you really don't have to worry about that when you go glamping, when you go to one of these resorts in the middle of the Serengeti. Not a problem.
They're basically scouting out the area ahead of time to make sure that it's not that
Oh yeah.
dangerous, and you have people who are protecting you at all times.
And you're walked to and from your tent. It's I mean it's safe to go outside of your tent too, but you're during the day, wouldn't do it at night. But you're walked to and from. There are plenty of employees around that know the area. I mean, the Maasai, I'll get to a story about that, but if you have a Maasai warrior around you, you don't need to be afraid of anything.
Do they? What are the bathroom facilities like when you're in this kind of environment?
Well, in like a 5-star camp or even a 4-star camp, you have your own facilities in your tent. You have a
They're
toilet.
actually inside the tent.
Yes, you have a toilet. You have an actual bathroom.
Okay.
The shower's out. The shower is just outside the door in an enclosed area, but you have a full American style toilet, Western style toilet.
All right. That's the moderns of wonder. That's better than I got in some areas of Thailand. So good job
For
there.
sure, for sure.
Awesome. So okay, so you're just now here. Talk to me about the story that you were about to share, by the way.
Which one?
Oh, I'm sorry.
There's so many.
Okay, so you just get started. What are you seeing as you go through this process?
Gotcha.
What are some of the things you're seeing?
So, I'm in the tent, and the first night, and of course the stampede is going, and you can hear this thundering of animals running past, and they're not right up against the tent, but it sounds like it. So there's this just adrenaline rush you get knowing that this amazing thing that happens every year is happening right outside your tent. And the thundering sounds of the animals running by, it's incredible. It's really something that I will never forget. So that was the first aspect that you really go, wow, I am literally in the middle of this great migration of animals. And then they take you in to see it. I happened to be the only one there at the time, and they took me to see anything I wanted. It was quite remarkable.
How many days were you going to be there for?
I was at that particular camp 4 days,
Okay.
4 nights, 4 nights, 5 days.
Okay.
And they took me down to the Mara River where we saw the hippos, and I was a little nervous because more people are killed in Africa by hippos than any other animal.
They can get very aggressive from what I'm told.
And they're fast. I mean, you wouldn't think something that fat would be that fast, and yet it is. I mean, I'm a big girl, and I was a little nervous about running away from these big girls, So they were on the other side of the river, and I kept saying to the guys, I'm a little nervous, and they're like, don't worry about it, and, we'll help you run. So it was fun. But it's just incredible. I mean, aside from the elephants and the giraffe and all the other wonderful African creatures that you see, just seeing some of the amazing things with all these hippos at the river and crocodiles and crocodiles trying to catch zebras and things like that. Just fascinating.
And so after you were there for the 5 days or 4 or 5 days, what was your next stop in your excursion?
Yeah, then I went to Ngorongoro Crater,
Ooh.
Which is an extinct volcanic crater in Tanzania. And because of it being a crater, the animals don't really leave. They're always there. And it is a massive crater. I mean, it's not like, 2 city blocks. It's massive. But there are flamingos, there are, every creature you can imagine. And it was just stunning. And I stayed at a resort, a lodge, actually. And the lodge was up on the cliff overlooking the crater, which was incredible. But funny story there, the buffalo and the zebra just, of course, they walk all over the resort. That's, what they do. But the buffalo is incredibly dangerous. The African buffalo is very, very dangerous. And one night I was walking back to my chalet with my Maasai warrior, and he actually grabbed me and threw me behind him because he shined his light and there was a buffalo standing in front of my chalet.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, so he scared the buffalo away with his spear and then let me into the into the chalet. But actually, one thing I did want to go back to on the previous area in the Serengeti, some of the highlights, and yeah, I think you may have some pictures of it. I'm not sure, but I spent some time with the Maasai tribes, and the Maasai's are warriors. And we were driving along, and he asked, the driver asked, would it be okay if we picked up this gentleman that was walking? And I said, oh, absolutely. Are you kidding me?
Let me stop you there for just a second, because I think I have a picture of this. Give me a second and I will bring it up. Is it this one?
Yeah, there you go. That's the beginning of it. Yeah.
Hold on just 1 second here. Anyways, go on with your story really quick while I try and bring up the
picture.
picture.
Well, I'm telling you. So the gentleman, when he got in the car, I said to him, aren't you afraid of the lions? And he said, I'm Maasai. But this is, they're not afraid. So this picture you've got here is some time I spent in the village, and they just happen to have concluded their annual tradition where they send out the young men to kill a lion. And they
I'm sorry, to kill a lion?
To kill a lion. They only kill one. And the boy that comes back with the lion mane, this young man happened to be the one, becomes like the most desirable husband, of course, for any of the girls. And
just like in high school.
Just like in high school. the quarterback or the lion killer, it's the same thing. And it was just so amazing. I mean, they invited me into their huts. They made tea. I got taken to a farm that the women don't farm. The males are hunters and the women are gatherers. But the man that I was with, the host of the camping area, he actually came from a farming tribe. So some time ago, he had asked the warriors, could he teach the women to farm, and that would add to their tribe, and they were fine with that, and he did, and their farm was incredible. I've never seen vegetables. I mean, cabbage like this. It was mind-blowing, and they were so gracious. They let me take photographs, which I've sold all over the world, actually, some of the photographs of the Maasai warriors and the Maasai women in particular. And they tried to give me, vegetables and fruit to take home. And I said, I can't. But I wish I could. But instead, may I buy some of your, jewelry and things like that? So I bought a lot of wonderful trinkets to take home. And the place that I was camping at, the glamping, they buy all of their produce from these people at the farm as well.
Nice.
So they make extra money too.
What a great story. I think, in fact, let me double check here. We have another picture of you. So for my listeners out there on the podcast, this is Morissa next to some kind of a river with what looks like a elephant bone or femur or something huge.
I don't know if it was elephant or hippo. I'm not really sure. I just felt like Wilma Flintstone.
Oh my gosh.
And I picked that up, and the gentleman that was the host was holding my camera, and he grabbed my camera and he snapped a couple pictures of me doing that, because it was incredible. It was just, I felt like Fred Flintstone, Wilma Flintstone. It was insane.
Well, and this is about a good 3 feet long bone, but it kind of also speaks to just how voracious some of the animals are out there. Because if you have something that's either a hippo or an elephant that's died, this thing looks like it was cleanly picked apart
Oh
by,
yeah.
I'm sure, hyena, and then all the scavenger birds after that, and everything else. They're just going to rip it apart, and then there's like nothing left, and it's even sunbaked a little bit. So
Yeah, it's been there for some time, and it goes in a pecking order. First the lions, then the hyenas, then the vultures. They all
yeah,
get their pick.
quite literally, actually.
Yes.
So awesome. All right. So back to the crater. So you're there for a little while. You're actually in a lodge. So it's not a
Yes.
tent. It's actually an actually structured lodge.
Right. This one was a structured lodge on the edge of the crater, and beautiful. It's called Ngorongoro Crater Lodge.
Mhm.
It's like Ngorongoro Crater Lodge, and named after the crater, of course,
Okay.
and just stunning. I mean, massages in your room. I get back to my after a long
Wait, was
drive.
this a resort?
Yes,
Oh,
yes, and
nice.
well, and I get back to my room after a long game drive. Where it was rough. I was in a truck, and I was taking photographs, and then we stopped for cocktails, sundowners. And
Of course.
then I got back, and I have before dinner, just incredible dinners, incredible food. And I get back to and there's a bath drawn with rose petals. There's a log in the fireplace burning, and a carafe of brandy sitting there. So it was really hard. It was really
Wow.
difficult. Yeah, one of the tougher trips I've taken.
I can't make up my mind whether or not this is a really dangerous, exhaustive trip, or if this is more of a resort situation.
It's a little, that's the beauty. It's a little bit of both. There's no way you can just grab a tent yourself and go and do these things. It's too dangerous. There are, this isn't a zoo. There are wild animals everywhere. Uh, so you have to do something like this. You don't have to do a 5-star, but I was working for a magazine. There was a purpose behind it. But you're going to have some of these kinds of experiences, which is why it's so expensive. And to get to another point that we had talked about, I actually booked this from the United States because of the magazine, but you can book it, once you get to somewhere else in South Africa, or Africa in general, you can book it from there. Probably going to be a lot cheaper.
And from Ngorongoro Crater, where did you go from there?
From there, they took me drop me off in Dar es Salaam, flew me back to Dar es Salaam.
Okay.
And then I was on my own, and I went to, I was in a hotel there, and then I went to Zanzibar,
Oh,
which,
nice.
which is part of Tanzania. But it, historically, during the Second World War, Tanzania was Tanganyika.
Okay.
And then you had Zanzibar, which was a different country. After World War II, they became one country, and they became Tanzania. So went off to Zanzibar, and Zanzibar is actually, and part of Dar es Salaam too, is actually Muslim,
Hmm.
whereas the rest of Tanzania is not. It's more Christian
Hmm.
and tribal. But Zanzibar is completely Muslim, and just a fascinating place. I was there just when, before the election. I was there in September of 2008, and there was this young boy who looked a lot like Obama.
Hmm.
And it was called the Obama tree, and he used to stand under it with the hope poster of Obama.
Uh,
And just he tried to imitate Obama's talking, and it was fantastic. And I did video of him, and then he gave me a keychain that he had carved in the shape of Zanzibar, and it said Zanzibar on one side, and the flip side said Obama '08.
oh, wow.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was Zanzibar. I just the people in Tanzania were just amazing, just lovely, lovely people.
I have a question for you. Is the government primarily democratic? Because I had also heard that at one point, uh, the Sultan of Oman moved to Zanzibar. And so I wasn't sure if there was like a monarchy piece to, Tanzania and Zanzibar, or if there wasn't.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all one country now, but yeah, there is there's no friction there. I mean, and it's Africa, which means things can change from decade to decade.
Yeah.
It's just part of the makeup of the land. When I was there, everything was very, very peaceful. Um, as a matter of fact, an interesting thing, Zanzibar was really home to slavery. A lot of slaves first ended up in Zanzibar when it was run by a sultan. And, this was quite some time ago. It's home to the shortest war in the world, 15-minute war, where the the actually Livingston saw that the slave trade was happening there, and he went back to Britain and got the Navy, convinced the king. They got the Navy. They went to Zanzibar. They stood off the coast and said, "You've got 15 minutes to end slavery, or we attack." And they decided to end slavery.
Right.
So, but they're really interesting on Zanzibar itself. There are amazing monuments to slavery. There's a church, actually, a Christian church on Zanzibar, where they have statues of just a slave trade pit where it's yeah, I can't even explain it. It's moving. It's very moving. And Livingston is a huge hero in Tanzania for things he did for the people.
Excellent. And how long were you in Zanzibar for?
I went to Zanzibar just for the day.
Okay.
You can take a ferry over, or you can fly. And being I just was going to do it for the day, I did. One of the reasons, aside from the cultural aspect, one of the other reasons I went to Zanzibar is because it's home to, it's the only home to a very rare primate. And the name escapes me at the moment, but it's in the Jozani forest.
Okay.
And I took a lot of photographs. I mean, they were just 2 feet away, less than 2 feet away. But it's the only place in the world that they exist.
Excellent. Wonderful. And how long? So you were only there for like a day, and then
Yeah.
where were you after that, or did you just end up
I
flying
flew
back?
back to Dar es Salaam.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Wonderful. And then I assume after you flew back to Dar es Salaam, then you headed back to South Africa, and
Yeah,
then
then I headed back to South Africa.
okay, fantastic. So how was your return? Was there any major complications or problems with heading back to the States after that?
No, not at all. Again, it was 2008, but that was not that long after 9/11. I mean, it was still very fresh in people's memories, but no problems whatsoever. I had my yellow fever certificate, all of those things. So, my vaccination certificate, no problem. No,
Excellent.
just welcome back, welcome home. You have a good time, welcome home. Yeah.
And see, you don't have any problems with like time change issues where like I do.
No, I
So
don't.
excellent. So let's talk post vacation. So what are the pros of going on a trip like this?
Life altering. Um, uh, Probably one of the most amazing experiences you'll have in life is to just be embedded in not only a culture, but a place like the Serengeti. It can be, I think it can be really life altering and just incredibly memorable for people.
Wonderful. I'm glad it provided you with a lot of memories and
Yeah.
even better pictures too.
Oh,
So
yeah.
great stuff. Now, in terms of things someone would want to be aware of, not that there's cons to going on trips like this, but I mean, if it's a first time for someone to do something like this, what are some important things that you would want the travelers to be aware of?
That's a great question. It alludes back to something I said a little while ago. Things in Africa can change frequently, and you have to be intensely aware of the political situation of any place you're going to just before you go. I mean, even if you've planned it. I was supposed to be in Rwanda photographing the gorillas when the war broke out in '94. So yeah, you have to be keenly aware of political situations, keep abreast of things like that. and then you'll be fine. And that's really the only thing to be aware of, is what's happening in a part of the world, especially in Africa, that you're going to.
Excellent. And then because you've been in the travel industry for so long, what were some of the things that you would offer for my students in terms of value adds, cost savings, best practices? What are some things that might help them when making a trip like this?
The value, well, the cost savings, again, I would say, investigate the prices from here, but also, if you have a contact, or if you're willing to wait, you can also look locally, and oftentimes you can get packages a lot cheaper through the local market, even, somewhere in Africa, whether you're in Kenya or South Africa beforehand. You can probably get packages that are going to be a lot less expensive, because of course they're not catering to the American dollar. So that's a cost savings. Value adds is definitely, spend some time on your own, if you can, a day or two wandering around, the city. Like you get to Dar es Salaam, for example, spend a day wandering that on your own. Go off to Zanzibar. You don't need a guide to go to Zanzibar. You can do it on your own. So things like that, the value adds are really, you're there. You've taken a lot of time and money to get so far away. It is the other side of the world. Don't rush in and rush home. Give yourself extra time before and after, some downtime, some self-explore, things like that.
Wonderful. Well, again, Morissa, you do such a great job with sharing your vast knowledge in this. So again, thank you so much for all that you do. It really means a lot to me. And
My pleasure.
for my students that are out there, if you want to get more information on Morissa, or just take a look at some of the photos that she's done, she's got an amazing series of photos, not just on her website, which is at www.fredericophotography.com, but also on Facebook. You can see the link here. I'll post the link note in the show notes as well for those that are on the podcast. And then again, if you're on Instagram, you can see some of our stuff there at Frederico Photography. Other than that, again, Morissa, thank you so much for sharing your time. It really means the world to me. For those of you who have general questions for me, you can certainly send them to scott@theprofessortravel.com. If you're on YouTube right now and you haven't already done so, click the bell icon right above us here. See that right up there? That'll help in order to notify you when new videos come out. If you haven't already done so, feel free to subscribe. It doesn't cost anything and it really helps out the channel. And then finally, if you like content like this, give us a like, give us a thumbs up on that. We really appreciate that. If you're listening on the podcast, please rate us and review us. We really appreciate the feedback. But until next time, my name is Scott. I am the Professor Travel, and make every day a travel adventure. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye now.